Hello, I'm Stefano. Today I'm going to share a few tips about learning languages and learning Italian. If you have any questions, type them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer. Don't wait until the end. I'm ready to answer at any time. First, I introduce myself. My name is Stefano. I am an Italian language teacher and a serial language learner. After years of teaching, I developed my own Italian course. I called it Ripeti con me. It means repeat after me. And I made it an audio course because I realized after learning, studying many languages, that the most important activity you can do to improve your skills is speaking. So I made it an audio course that forces you to speak. You listen and repeat. You listen and speak. You mimic the speaker like you did when you were a baby. And then you naturally acquire vocabulary and grammar. It's time right now to begin. I'll give it a couple of minutes before I deal with the topic. But basically, I will share my best tip for improving your language skills. Could be in Italian or any other language, because I often get emails about uh, how to improve faster, and I do write about that on my website. But I guess that people still guess that there is some secret that I keep hidden from the public, when in reality it's very simple. Good, it's time to begin. It's 9 o'clock here. I leave it to you to guess where I am. I'm not in Italy, but I'm still Stefano, the Italian polyglot, Italian language teacher, and serial language learner. Today, I'll share with you my best tip to improve your Italian language skills or any other language skill. It works with any language. If you ever studied a language in school, probably your study time was skewed towards grammar and translation. You spend time listening to the teacher's explanations, and then you solved some grammar drills, exercises. But I guess you understood the rules, the grammar rules somehow, but you didn't spend enough time practicing speaking. And so many people experience this. They're kind of able to understand, but they cannot speak. And that's very common. On one side, it's practically speaking, it's almost inevitable if you study in a group. In a group class, there's just so much time, and it's spent explaining grammar, and then other people, other students want to practice speaking, and so eventually the time that you actually speak is very limited. That's why I recommend one-to-one lessons. I teach one-on-one on Skype, and that's the most effective way to improve speaking skills, and not only speaking skills. One downside is that it's expensive, relatively expensive. I wouldn't say it's absolutely expensive because it's very effective. But for sure, for casual learners, or maybe people are just too busy, to take regular classes, they also want an effective self-study material. I understand that, and I use myself use self-study courses, especially audio courses, and that's why I made my own Italian course. It's an audio course. It's both web-based and downloadable. It comes in two formats. It's called Ripeti con me. It means repeat after me. And that's what you do during the course. You listen and mimic the speaker. That's the way we all learned our native language when we were babies. And that's still the most effective way to learn a language. Not through grammar rules, but through examples, and not through reading or translating, or even just passive listening, but through speaking. I would like to, this is not only, this is not a lecture, and it's a casual chance to share my tips. If you have questions, type them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer. If you ask questions, then you're sure that my talk will be relevant to you. I'll answer right away. And don't leave them for the end. Ask at any time. So my first, and you could say the only tip that really matters to me, is that you should be practicing speaking all the time. Even if you're reading, you should be speaking. How to do that? Well, you do something that was very common in other ages. I heard that in the Middle Ages, when books were limited, especially before the invention of print, people, when they got a book, they would try to memorize like all of it, and people are supposed to be able to do that. I never tried, but how to retain more information, for sure, that I can tell you, that you do it by reading aloud, not quietly, not silently. If you read aloud what you're reading, you're already practicing speaking, because the information goes through a different circuit in your brain. Then you could be practicing writing, and then you do the same. Don't write silently, but speak, read aloud what you're writing. And if you're listening, you're watching a video on YouTube, you are listening to a podcast, then you can turn that study time into speaking practice by repeating what you hear. Even if you don't fully understand or cannot keep up with the pace of the speaker, you should still even just mumble something. And that's still helpful to retain more information, because speaking is, forgive me the expression, it's an active activity. It means that you're producing something, in this case, speech. It's not a passive activity like listening or reading when you are not producing anything. It could be speech or text. I hope that you can relate to this. I'd like to hear your comments or if you have any questions, because this is my main tip. And I can go on like forever, but the more I talk, the more complicated it might sound, because this is what I do as a language learner myself. I find a teacher and take one-on-one lessons and speak all the time. Then the teacher gives me feedback, they correct my mistakes, and then I review the correction, the feedback, and put it into practice the following lesson, the next lesson. And just by repeating this cycle, this process of trial and error, I do see steady progress in my language skills. And I can tell you as a teacher also that it's also effective for my Italian language students. So that's what you should do. Then, if you lack the time or the money to take regular one-on-one lessons on Skype, then a valid alternative is to practice listening and speaking with an audio material. Especially as a beginner, you can't just choose any material. If you watch the news or any random YouTube video, it's likely that it doesn't match your level and you can't really absorb the information. That's why I made an audio course. It's called Ripeti con me, repeat after me. And you find it on Fluent Simple, fluentsimple.com. And with that, just by taking a lesson a day, it's less than 20 minutes per day. Every day, one lesson a day. And you'll be surprised to see how much progress you're making in your, especially in your listening and speaking skills, which are the aspects, the skills that are most overlooked in language courses and generally speaking in everyone's study time. People spend a lot of time memorizing, understanding rules, grammar rules, and translating, but then they don't practice speaking. And so there, as a result, they can understand something, but they cannot speak. If that's your case, go check out Ripeti con me, repeat after me, my audio course. There's a 7-day free trial. Take your first lesson today. Since there are no questions, I already shared what I wanted to share, because that's what really counts. The rest, well, there are many minor tips. You find them on my blog. There's plenty of advice there. So if there are no questions, I say goodbye for now, and I'll see you on the next webinar. Ciao.